Hi, gang. Yeah. Hi, kids. Hi. Yeah, boy. Oh, yeah. That's a best. That's awesome. That's great. Well, gang, it is good to see everybody. I love it. It is good to see everybody, and thank you for coming. I cannot believe that this is the culminating Montreat Wednesday of the spring 2024 season. Um, we've been looking over grades, and you all pass. So well done. My name's Keith, and I'm the pastor at Montreat Presbyterian Church. Shortly, I'm going to introduce somebody who's going to introduce somebody else. But this is a fabulous evening because there is a spirit of collaboration all over the place. And among those are Town of Montreat and Montreat Presbyterian Church, the Christian Education Committee of Montreat Presbyterian Church. Mason Blake, is Mason here? Mason. Well, Mason's everywhere. But Mason Blake is on the town council and on a member of Montreat Presbyterian Church. Gary Henshin is here on behalf of the Montreat Presbyterian Church CE committee. Arrington Cox is here, Bearwise lady. And one of my favorite people, Julie and J-Dub, are here, who did coffee for us. Thank you, Julie and J-Dub. Where'd the bear cookies come from? Tell me about bear cookies. Yay, where's Grace? There she is, yay. There she is, very good. All right. And speaking of Gracie being on fellowship committee and doing such great stuff, obviously this Monday morning will be the funeral for Dick Ray. A lot of stuff coming together for that, but everybody is welcome to come and join in that. There are a lot of people doing a lot of work to make things happen with that, and I think it's going to be a worthy tribute to a great, great man. Today, as I mentioned, this is our last Montreat Wednesday for the season, and we will start up again right around the corner on September 11th, I think, is the second Wednesday. So try to just contain yourself till mid-September. So many special thanks to Ashley Hobbs, our speaker tonight, and I want to let you know that we tried to give her the usual honorarium of $10,000, but she very kindly had it sent somewhere else to me. Turns out, no. So we're sending that instead to Appalachian Wildlife Refuge in Candler, where they rehab bear cubs. Is that true? That's really cool. So your faithfulness is supporting that, and this marvelous human being who is just about to be introduced is also generously making that happen for us. Are there any announcements or other concerns that people want to bring to the group? All right, this is being hosted, again, co-hosted by the Montreat Presbyterian Church, specifically their Christian Education Committee. I think that gives me permission to pray, and then I'm going to turn it over to Gary Hinchin. Let's bow together. Almighty God, your creation is breathtaking, and we are not always the stewards that we should be of your environment. And we are truly sorry when we have shirked our responsibilities, and we are truly thrilled when you allow us once again to return to your great gift of this earth and share it with the creatures that are among us, and remind us of our place in your great creation, and remind us that it is not our creation but yours, and it is our responsibility to keep it for our children and those who will come after. So thank you, God, for giving us opportunities to think and pray and learn and open our eyes and our ears to the world all around us. Bless this time together and us to your service. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. Gary Henshin, come on.
Well, this program this evening is very, very cool. I don't remember Ellen and I have been coming through most of our lives. We've seen so many bear encounters. Just at our house in North Carolina this week, we had two, one mama and two yearling cubs, and then a single bear was I guess he was looking for his wife or something. Even who knows? But we're particularly delighted this afternoon to have actually talking about 2023. Ashley is currently the special projects biologist for the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. She's been in that position since January of 2019. Ashley is a graduate of the University of Georgia in forestry resources. She has had extensive experience in wildlife management. She has not only helped in managing bears, the bear population, and the interaction between bears and people. She's also worked with quail, increasing quail cubby counts on private lands throughout the Southeast. She has worked with beavers, removing beavers from certain areas where they cause a nuisance. Feral swine. You may not know, but particularly in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, feral swine are a big problem. Nuisance beasts. Anybody who plays golf knows what a problem geese are, and all of us in Montreat who ever recently walked across the town, you see what a nuisance geese is. So Ashley has been instrumental in helping control the geese population. Ashley was interviewed a couple of years ago by Channel 13. She talked about her career and her interest in human and animal interaction. And she made the comment, quote, "I've always wanted to work with human-wildlife interactions." So she certainly had that. Following Ashley's talk, our own Arrington Cox, who is our Bearwise representative in Montreat, is going to update us on the Bearwise program. So, Ashley?
All right, thanks, folks. Again, my name is Ashley Hobbs. I am special projects biologist. That means a lot of nothing to most people. So let me walk you through my week I've had so far. It does feel like Saturday for me, but it's only Wednesday. So on Saturday, I had to go out and I had a bear break into someone's house, rip the door off the hinges. And then on Monday, I had to go out and get a bear cub that someone had pulled off a tree and put into a dog crate, take that bear to a rehab. And then I had to do some talks for some POAs out in Cashers. I did that. And then, I had another bear break into another house, stuck its head through a doggy door. So I went and did some stuff with that. And then, I had a bear today that was pulled off of a tree and people were taking selfies with it. So I had to go deal with that. Then I had to do some news interviews about those cubs and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say here is spring has sprung and I have had 2 days off so far this month. So I stay very busy in Buncombe County. And I, yes, mostly deal with bears, but I also deal with all the other critters like foxes and coyotes and possums and raccoons as well. It's just when everything flushes out, the number of calls I get are mostly related to bears. So I'm almost all bears all the time. Can we skip forward a slide? I can. Perfect, thank you. But the other part of my job is Bearwise, which is kind of how I'm here today. I kind of have both hats on right now, I guess. The Bearwise program isn't just in Buncombe County. It's not just in Montreat. It's statewide. So I do work in Buncombe County here locally, but I also work all across the state as well. So I have a big job and a little job. And then along the way, I'll help with any sort of fur bear projects that pop up. Whoever needs help with the project, deer as well, hunting seasons, trapping seasons, all that sort of stuff falls under my umbrella. So when I say special projects, I mean all projects, basically. We can go to the next slide. So today we're going to talk about Bearwise. Who came to the talk last year? A few of you. Okay, so for you guys, it might be a little bit, there might be some reminders in here. For the rest of you, we want to make sure we get everybody on the same page. That's kind of my goal today. I'm not getting super in depth into anything. We're just going through the basics, just to get everybody on the same page. So we're going to start by talking about black bears in general and some of the behaviors you'll see around the community, and it might help bridge the gap as to what is driving those behaviors that you're observing. Then we'll talk about Bearwise. What the heck is it? How can we be Bearwise around our community? And we'll wrap it up with the bear encounters and a bit of bear safety. So what do you do when you see a bear? That's a big, mostly common question that I get. I'll have plenty of time at the end for questions and answers, and Arrington will have some time to talk about specific Montreat Bearwise programming, so that we'll connect you guys with a lot of resources today. You can take that home and apply it in your community. We'll go to the next one. So if we're talking about North Carolina, we're talking about bear country. We have a lot of bears in North Carolina, the largest population in the southeastern US. So about 20,000 bears total statewide. You'll see on this map, though, that we have a bunch of white in the middle of our state. That means we don't have an established bear population in that Piedmont or central region of our state. That's okay, because what is in the middle of our state? Raleigh. Raleigh is in the middle. We don't need bears in Raleigh, so it's okay if we keep it where it is. That's true. They've got their own set of problems. So out here in the mountains, our bear population is around 9,000 bears. Now, how do we know that? Well, we just did a census on our bears here in the mountain region and throughout that Appalachian population. So we collect bear hair, we hang donuts up in the middle of the woods at various spots all throughout Western North Carolina. We put donuts in the middle and we do some barbed wire fencing around it. So the bears go under or through or over the fencing to get to the donuts. And we catch a little bit of hair along the way. That gives us DNA. We can then identify individuals. We can get a lot of information from just that little bit of hair. So we know that's a pretty accurate number. We're currently doing a census out on the coast. So we'll have a more accurate number here in the next year or so once we get those results back. But we think there's about 10,000 to 12,000 bears. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Now, not only do we have a lot of bears, you can hit the next button. We have some really big bears as well. So the largest bears, black bears in the world are coming from North Carolina. The world record for a black bear is 880 pounds. That bear came from Craven County, North Carolina. So that's out on the coast of North Carolina. We don't necessarily have those big 800-pounders out here in Asheville and Buncombe County. However, we do have some big bears. Now, on average, our males are going to be somewhere around 200 pounds. Females will be smaller in size on average, about 150 pounds. But we can see bears up to 500, 600 pounds. We just set a record here in the mountains. I think it's been about 2 years now. That bear was 720 pounds, somewhere around there. So they can get very large depending on the resources available to them in their area. Now, how are they getting so large? They use all of their senses to do two things throughout the year. One is to go on dates in the summertime. Two is to find food on the landscape. So they are either going on dates or eating food. That's kind of their two main purposes. Sounds great, right? So their eyesight is gonna be pretty similar to ours. If you're like me and you need glasses or contacts to see things at a distance, you have pretty similar vision to a bear. Bears can see in color, although they have some color blindness around the red end of the color spectrum. They have decent eyesight. So if you see a bear stand up on its hind legs, a lot of people will call me and they'll say, you know, this bear tried to kill me. It stood up on its hind legs, it growled at me, it was very threatening. And I have to calm people down and say, no, it stood on its hind legs because it was curious. Wanted to see what you are, figure out what you are in the distance, because they can't see so well from far away. So I ask people to put themselves in the bear's shoes. If you are out gardening in the yard, you're kind of hunched over picking weeds, and you think you see a bear out of the corner of your eye in the distance, what are you gonna do? Turn around, stand up, get a better look. See, is that a bear over there, or is it the neighbor's Labrador? So the bear is doing the same thing. It's engaging all of its senses, and it can do so better when it stands up on its hind legs to get a better look at you. Another thing that they're doing is they're engaging their hearing. So you can see on this guy, and I'm sure many bears that you have seen around our community, they have those big satellite dish ears on the sides of their heads. Those act to funnel in sounds. They can actually hear sounds from much greater distances that we can hear, and they can hear frequencies much higher than we can hear as humans as well. So you'll get advice a lot of time to make sound as you go along. People recommend bear bells, whistling, singing a little tune as you go, or I usually use the classic, "Hey bear," as I'm out in the woods, "Hey bear, hey bear, hey bear." And that's just because they can probably hear you before you even know that they're in the area. They have an excellent sense of hearing. They also have an excellent homing instinct as well. So the other call that I get is people call me and they say, "Ashley, I've got a bear in my neighborhood. I need you to come and get it and take it somewhere else." And I have to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not what we're doing. One of the reasons why I can't do that is because they have an excellent homing instinct. So think about it like an internal GPS. They have their home and all the resources that they access marked in that internal GPS. So you could take a bear's, and it's been documented, take them several states away, and they'll make a beeline right back for where you picked them up. By beeline, I mean right back to your backyard. So they have that excellent homing instinct. The other reason why I'm not going to relocate that bear is because it's ineffective. It doesn't solve the root of the problem. Why is that bear there in the first place? Is it because you have a bird feeder out? If we remove the bird feeder, will the bear leave? Probably. The other thing is that it's not effective for the bears. I think a lot of times people think if I come and get the bear and I take it somewhere else, it's going to be sunshine and rainbows and that bear is going to go live in a happy field with its bear family and make bear friends. That's not what's going to happen. The Great Smoky Mountain National Park is actually doing a study right now. They're relocating bears who have had interactions with humans, campsites, things like that, outside of the park, and then they're watching the outcomes of that relocation. What they're finding pretty continuously is that about 2/3 of those bears die upon relocation for one reason or another, whether they're getting hit by cars, which is the most common. Maybe they are more susceptible to hunting. Maybe they meet intolerant people or more dominant bears as well. So it's not an effective outcome for that bear. It doesn't solve the problem. And even if the bear does survive relocation, it's going to come right back to you. So if you call me and ask me to take the bear somewhere else, I'm going to say, nope, not an option. We're going to re-educate people to re-educate the bears so everyone can live alongside each other more harmoniously. Let's skip, their sense of smell. This one is the most important, so I can't skip it. Their sense of smell is excellent. A lot of times, a lot of the behaviors you're seeing, or if you're seeing bears often, it's because they can sense, they can smell things in your community that are attractive to them. So their sense of smell is about 7 times better than a bloodhound. So think about what we use bloodhounds for. You know, they sniff a piece of clothing and then they can find someone from miles away. So 7 times better than a bloodhound, that's hundreds and hundreds of times better than our sense of smell. If we put that in terms of distance, that bear can smell the toppings you had on your pizza last night for the box in your trash can from over a mile away. Most estimates, most accepted estimates are 10 miles away. And there are even some estimates more towards 25 miles away. So here in Asheville, there's a really great graphic at the WNC Nature Center around the Bear Boardwalk or whatever they call it. And it has a map of Asheville. And they plot the Nature Center on that map. And they put a 10-mile radius around it. So you can see if Ursa and Uno, the bears at the Nature Center, can smell your trash can when you put it out on the curb at trash day. And most people are in that radius. So that's pretty fantastic. And that's really what they rely on most, because that's their most sensitive of all of their senses. You can go to the next one now. So they're using all of these senses to find a variety of different foods. Naturally, they are omnivores. That means they eat plants, insects, meat, kind of run the gamut there. But if we kind of break it down here, you'll see that they primarily eat plants. I think sometimes people think of black bears as being carnivorous, and that's very much the opposite of the truth. They're mostly eating plants. In the spring and summer, this time of year, they're going to be going after new roots and shoots that they find. They're going to be going after any of the seeds or grubs. There's a lot of grubs and ants and termites this time of year as well, so you may see them digging around in your yard. When we get into the summer and soft mass, those blueberries, blackberries, chokeberries, serviceberry comes into play. That's going to be really attractive for them, so they'll kind of switch their diet. And then once we get into fall, they undergo something called hyperphagia. Think about it like super mega eating mode. So they are going to be eating 23 to 24 hours out of the day. And primarily they're going to be targeting acorns. Didn't anyone last year have an oak tree or hickory tree and the bears were just hammering it hard last year? We had a really good mast deer, well, relatively good mast deer last year. And I saw that a lot. Bears were hanging out under an oak tree for days, just gorging themselves on those acorns. So they go through these big shifts throughout the year, depending on what's available, but they are opportunistic. So if the opportunity presents itself to eat something like roadkill or someone's crops or insects, then certainly they will utilize that. The other thing that they will do is target in the spring, kind of switch a little bit more to a meat diet. When those fawns drop and before they're up and running, those are easy targets for bears. So bears are the #1 predator of deer fawns in our area of the country. We'll go to the next one. So what will they eat if it's available? Remember, I said they're very opportunistic, just about anything and everything. These guys are trying to meet a caloric intake goal of about 2,000 to 3,000 calories, 3,000 to 5,000 calories per day in the spring and summer. So right about now, we're aiming for 3,000 to 5,000 calories per day. In the fall, however, when they're going through that hyperphagia time, they're switching to 20,000 calories per day. So that's a big switch. And they need anything and everything they can get to meet that high calorie goal. Now, if we look at something like a jumbo bird feeder, because we never have a small bird feeder, right? We always have the biggest, and we always have several bird feeders. So those jumbo bird feeders typically hold about 7 pounds of bird seed, your generic bird seed mix from Walmart or wherever. That contains 20,000 calories for a bear in that single bird feeder. So I get the call all the time, well, I got bears in my yard 24/7. They won't leave me alone. They're hitting my bird feeders up every day. I can't keep bird seed in them. And I have to explain to them the number of calories they have sitting in their backyard. And where do we keep these bird feeders? Right next to the back door, on the back porch. In these places where we are often, our pets are often, kids, grandkids, everybody's moving around in the backyard, especially in nice weather. And we're putting 20,000 calories for a bear right there in the center of everything. So that kind of drives, those calories drives a lot of the human bear interactions that we tend to see. Go to the next one. So here we have some information for 2022. Hopefully I'll be able to update this soon, but I think this pie chart will look more or less the same for this past year. So you'll see in red, that is every other county in North Carolina, and blue is Buncombe County. So on average, yes, you're right there. So he asked, is that's why we have more resources in Buncombe County? Absolutely. This is why I have a job. So before this, I was a temporary employee, and then they decided we need somebody to take over a single county, Buncombe County, off of our district biologist plate and just have that be their job. And it is a full-time job and then some. So I'm the only employee with the agency assigned to only a county, the only person. Because of this, on average, Buncombe County accounts for about 1/3 of the human bear interaction calls that we get each year to the agency. Now these calls are anything from there's a bear walking through my yard at night and I'm catching it on my security camera. What do I do? To there's an injured bear, what do I do? Or there's a bear in my kitchen, what do I do? Kind of everything in between there. So it's quite a big diversity of calls there. But Buncombe County on average has the bulk of the calls for the state when it comes to bears. Go to the next one. So that's kind of how BearWise came to be. We're not alone here in Buncombe County, especially if you look at places like Gatlinburg, these big tourist areas. They're seeing a lot of these same trends happening. We're trying to educate a group of people that is changing every day, whether it's people moving into our county, moving out of our county, or they're visiting for a few days. We're trying to educate on a moving target here. But we're not alone. We get together with the other Southeastern bear biologists at least twice a year, and we just compare notes. We talk shop, we talk research, we make sure that we're all working together as one, because our Appalachian Mountain population is a single population. We share bears, so to speak. So we all saw the same thing, and with that in mind, we decided we needed a program to educate people how to coexist with bears. The programs that were available at the time, you probably heard of things like Bear Smart or Bear Aware. Those are pretty popular, and they're great. but they're put together by people who are well-intentioned, but they're gathering information from a variety of resources, and they're ending up with some information that's not factual, not proven, or it's just plain not true. So with that in mind, we wanted to be able to be proactive. We wanted to share ways to prevent conflicts from happening in the first place. But we understand most people, when they're looking for information on bears, they already have the conflicts. So we shared a variety of resolutions that may work for some, and then others may work for other people. I describe it like a toolbox. If you need to get a nail into a piece of wood, hammer is probably the most effective option. But can you use the back of a screwdriver and hammer in that nail? Yes, you can. So there may be solutions that work for some, but don't work for others, and there may be some more effective solutions for those people. We also wanted to encourage community initiatives to keep bears wild through community recognition. So these are communities that come together with a commitment to coexist with bears. So we call that our community recognition program. And Montreat was one of the first towns to come on board in the country to become a Bearwise recognized community through their commitment to securing trash, prohibiting feeding, and consistent education and reporting. So the idea behind Bearwise is we have science-based consistent information. So if you have mountain house here and a beach house down in Florida, you're going to be interacting with bears in each of those states, but you may have before this got conflicting messages on what you should be doing. Now you have a one-stop shop with bearwise.org that gives you consistent information so that you know what to do whether you're in Florida or you're up here in North Carolina. So bearwise.org is an excellent website. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. It's a great website to have bookmarked on your computer ready to go. I'm sure if you have any questions along the way too, the answers are probably on that website. It's very comprehensive. We'll go to the next one. So with Bearwise, we wanted to make it easy, again, consistent and science-based. So we boiled it down to the 6 Bearwise basics. And these are the 6 most effective ways that you can coexist with bears in your community. So we'll kind of go through these. We'll go to the next one. So number 1 is never feed or approach bears. And you're thinking, well, duh, Ashley, I'm not going to feed or approach a bear. But you would be surprised at some of the things that I see. It really boils down to intentional versus unintentional feeding. A lot of people aren't putting out peanuts for the bears, they're putting out peanuts for the squirrels, but the bears come and eat the peanuts anyways. So that's a good example of unintentional feeding. We do now have ordinances both in the county, the city, and the town now that prohibit the intentional placing of any substance that attracts wildlife and results in property damage, public safety, or a safety issue for that animal. So that is on all 3 levels now. So if you do see that happening, we want you to report it as soon as possible so we can nip that in the bud, keep people and bears safe, keep bears from losing their fear of human, keep them from associating us as a source of food. I'll have a phone number at the end, which would be the appropriate place to report that. So go to the next one. And you may have to click it one more time to get it to play. Well, it's not very good quality, I guess. So this is Janice. Janice lives in Swannanoa, not too far from here. And she has been feeding bears for years and years and years. She has been featured on National Geographic. She's been featured by all of the news outlets in Raleigh. And she really brags on Facebook about how she has this incredible relationship with bears. But what you'll see during this little news segment here is what I see is bears bluff charging people at least 3 times is what I see. You'll see it right here. You see a bluff charge. So that's a bear telling you, you're too close, this is unsafe, give me space. But she's thinking, this bear wants to be next to me, this bear loves me, I have a relationship with this bear. The relationship isn't with her and the bear, the relationship is with those bowls of birdseed and the bears. You could take Janice out of this equation and the bears are gonna keep coming for years after year after year. However, if you take the birdseed out of the equation, they're not gonna keep coming. They'll eventually learn there's no more food there. So this is right around the corner from us. And this is the sort of stuff that we need to get under control immediately. We'll go to the next one. Number 2 is secure your food, garbage, and recycling. So this one, again, remember that their sense of smell is excellent. So they can smell the pizza toppings you had last night. When it comes to, being out on your deck, your porch in the backyard, or even like a communal space, it's perfectly fine to have a little picnic, eat outside, things like that. Just be mindful about it, have a little common sense. Don't leave your food behind. Don't leave your food on the back deck and then walk inside for 5 minutes to answer the phone and then be shocked when a bear runs off with your steak dinner, right? So it is important to just have a little bit of common sense. The other thing is your vehicle. Make sure that you do not have food in your vehicle. Things like air fresheners, pack of gum, that French fry that falls under the seat that you forgot about. Those are all attractive for a bear. So if your vehicle is unlocked or your windows are down, a bear could access that. What I find is every year we have at least one car that is totaled by bears over something small, something little, because they didn't leave their car secured. Can you click the next one? It should start the video. So you'll see this bear opens up this door just as you or I would. I wouldn't do it any differently. And what you'll find is that they will climb inside, and they're big, bulky bears. So they move the car around as they're inside moving around, and that door shuts behind them. So now you have to call me and have me come get the bear out of your car. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably at least an hour away. That's always how it pans out. I'm far away. So it's going to take me a while to get out there and get the bear out. And in the meantime, it is going to tear apart your car. So it's great if you trust your neighbors and you leave your doors unlocked. Perfect. Love that. Don't trust the bears, though. Lock your doors, roll up your windows. If you have a garage, park in the garage. Don't trust the bears. Because they will get into your vehicle and it's going to cost you a lot of money. The other thing about garbage and recycling, and this is in ordinance, so you should be doing this regardless, but your trash only goes to the curb on collection day, the morning of collection day, never the night before. We want to keep that trash secured for as long as possible until that trash truck comes. So if you can even wait a little bit longer, your trash comes at 10 and you can roll it down there at 9:45, that's even better. Try to shorten that window of opportunity for a bear to access your trash. You can look at some bear resistant options, straps and things like that if you don't have somewhere to store your trash on non-collection days. There's a lot of options out there. Bearwise.org covers a lot of those options, and I believe the town has a list of options as well. So the next one. Would you mind turning up the volume? I'm not sure if it's the TV volume or the laptop volume. So I have 2 videos here. This first one, you'll see the bear is using a trash can. This is Uno at the Nature Center. Trash can stays locked, technically, but if there was a trash bag inside, it could probably pry open that lid and get it out the side. So that's not quite bear resistant. This next video, you'll see a different option with a reinforced lid and a locking mechanism. And that will help you keep the trash can secure, even if the bear is using its teeth, claws, dragging it around, flipping it upside down. It's going to be a bit more secure. You can go to the next one.
The new bear, looking bite it.
Take a picture too, Rob, so that we can see. I cannot believe that. What do you think Hamish would do if he saw him? Got claws. Take a picture.
So that works great. So if you're looking for a bear resistant trash can, or if you're installing locks on your trash can, you want to kind of mimic this. Keep all of the corners and sides down and secure, and try to find something with a reinforced rim on it as well. We can go to the next one. So number 3 is remove your bird feeders. And I always say this is like fighting words for some people, because some of y'all are holding on to those bird feeders like your life depends on it. But remember, there's 20,000 calories in the average jumbo bird feeder. So they're very, very attractive to bears. So it's important to remove these when birds are most active. Coincidentally, that's when birds need supplemental feeding the least. So from March, I always say St. Patrick's Day to Thanksgiving is kind of a good frame of reference. Remove your bird feeders, bring them inside indefinitely, not overnight, indefinitely. Because if you've ever seen a bear at night, chances are that bear is also running around during the day as well. My take on bird feeders, don't even mess with them. They're not worth it. I always opt for planting native plant species for the birds. It's better for the birds health-wise, it's better for the bears health-wise, and then it keeps people and pets safe as well. So everybody kind of benefits if we take that extra step to plant for birds. Nest boxes work as well. You can do small bird baths. And remember, even if you hike your bird feeder 50 feet up a tree, I don't care how high you want to put it up that dang tree, it's still going to spill off in the bottom. And that seed on the ground is a major attractant for a bear. So you're still attracting that bear and rewarding it when it comes into your yard. So we'll play this video. This is a part of our brand new Don't Be a Bob, Be Bear Wise series. And it kind of follows Bob. He's a little bit silly. He does everything wrong, but we want to make sure he's doing everything right.
Oh, what a pretty bird. Oh. Honey, the bear destroyed the feeder.
So I'll have a few more of these Don't Be a Bob videos, but we are doing a social media campaign. So if you follow us on Facebook, you've probably seen the first few of these videos. And so we'll have more come out if you want to follow Bob in all of his antics this summer. Let's go to the next video. So number 4 is never leave pet food outdoors. And oftentimes this is with small livestock or cats. Cats are often fed on the back porch, outdoor cats. And that's fine to feed them outside, but make sure that you're not leaving food outside. Once they're done eating, bring in that bowl, give it a good wipe down, and make sure we're not leaving something attractive right next to the back door, inviting those bears up onto our porch. Same thing with the bags of pet food. Make sure that we don't leave it on the back porch, leave it in the back of the car with the hatch open, things like that. And a lot of little common sense goes a long way here. So we'll watch Bob and his pet food.
The key to life is convenience, and there's nothing more convenient than an automatic pet feeder. Now, I have more time to do the things I love.
We'll go to the next one. Number 5 is clean and store your grill. This one gets overlooked, but if you know, you know. If a bear is coming after your grill, you probably need a new grill. It is pretty easy to clean it down. A lot of you probably already are scraping it down after you grill your burgers or whatever the case may be. We crank up that heat, we scrape off all the bits, but the part that we often forget is to pull out that drip tray. And that drip tray is where all the good stuff is. So don't forget that part. You can always line your drip tray with a little bit of aluminum foil, make it easy on yourself. And then once we have everything cleaned up, if you wanted to, you could spray it down with a little bit of ammonia, kind of help mask some of that smell. Ammonia is not a deterrent for bears, but it can help mask the smells that attract them. And then of course, try to cover it whenever possible, or even better, put it in your garage, put it in a shed, somewhere where it's secure. number 6 is something you guys are already doing here in Montreat just because you are a Bearwise community. And that's just let your neighbors know about what's going on with concerning bears in your community. You guys have liaison set up, so you have someone assigned to your neighborhood in this specific community. But letting people know on social media, Nextdoor is a popular one, word of mouth, after you've let your liaison know what's going on, can kind of help keep everybody on the same page. All you need to do is provide people information, and they can do something as simple as walk their dog in an alternate route that night and avoid an encounter with a bear. So it is really easy, and you guys are probably already doing a really good job of this. So a question that I get asked a lot during these presentations is, okay, I see all these Bearwise basics, but why should I be doing it? And essentially it boils down to bears are just traveling through our communities. We're giving them reasons to stick around. And we need to make sure we're keeping bears wild so we can keep bears, people, and pets safe. So when bears are hanging around our communities, first and foremost, they're most likely going to be hit by a car. That's the #1 source of mortality for bears. You can click to the next one. That's the #1 source of mortality for bears in Buncombe County. You see we're bright dark red out there. Even throughout the years, that lower map shows kind of a longer time span. So bears are getting hit by cars quite a bit. If you look at my truck outside, I have this big crane on the back of my truck bed. And that's not for lifting like heavy equipment or anything. That's for lifting up bears that get hit by cars. That's how often it happens. So by keeping bears moving through, not sticking around our communities, we can keep them away from those major roads and interstates, and we can keep them a bit safer. You can click the next one. So the other thing that can happen is they'll become habituated to people, and habituated means that they lose their fear of people. They start to see us as a source of food. So we want to avoid that because it can become a safety issue. And when it becomes a safety issue, we end up in situations like this. And this bear is a young bear. It's about a year old. It's still with mom. All the cubs and mom are on this porch. And that bear has already learned at this age that if it opens those paddle style doorknobs, it gets food, it gets a reward.
Get out of here.
And you can see it's unfazed by the person on the other side of the door, slapping, yelling, all those things.
Oh my God.
Unfazed. So that's where this bear is starting out in life. And it's only going to snowball and get worse from there. So that's why it's important to take the bird feeder seriously when the bear gets it at one time, because it starts with the bird feeder and the bear gets comfortable there. Then it starts coming up on your deck looking for food. And then it tries the door handle looking for food. And it's the snowball effect that we get that ultimately lands with this bear entering a home like this. It's a public safety issue. Remember, I'm not going to relocate it. I'm going to come out and I'm going to have to trap and dispatch that bear. So I'll have to take a lethal removal approach for bears like this. Now, when I do get in these situations, oftentimes I can re-educate people, retrain the people to retrain the bears, because bears will just respond to our behaviors. And oftentimes we can get things settled there if everybody takes it seriously. But it all starts with the little things and snowballs into the big things like this. Go to the next one. Okay, we'll switch over here to bear encounters. What do we think a bear is going to do if it sees us? Might be a little curious, see, or is that a human over there? What is that? And then it's probably just going to run away from us. So you can click to the next one. You'll kind of scroll through a few points here. Keep going. Keep going, keep going. There we go. So you see here, we got a bear at the top of the tree. When it comes to fight or flight, they're very much in that flight into the spectrum. They just want to get away from us, just like we don't want to be close to them. They don't want to be close to us. So this bear has run to the top of the tree. That's a common defense mechanism for bears, even from a tiny, tiny little 3-pound bear. That's their first line of defense, is climbing a tree. You hit the next one. What you see down here at the bottom of the tree is a little tabby cat. So they're very much big fraidy cats, and we just need to give them space for the most part. Go to the next one. So here we'll watch Bob do everything wrong, and then we'll learn what we should do right.
It's called relativity. There's a bear. What we do? It's something like if it's brown, make a sad face clown, and if it's black, eat a snack. If it's white, black. So eat a snack. No, black. You attack. You attack a bear, it'll kill us. Maybe sing it a song. Yeah, we'll sing it a song and we'll soothe it. Like, you're a beautiful black bear in the forest. Oh, let's all play dead. Yes, play dead. Yes. And then we'll be safe. We'll be safe. We all play dead. Remember me!
So don't be a Bob, yeah, don't be a Bob. If you do encounter a bear, especially if you're out walking your dog, you're in the yard, something like that, you want to back away in the opposite direction. Do keep your eyes on the bear so that if the bear diverts and goes a different way, you don't want to bump into them again, right? So just keep an eye on the bear, back away slowly in the opposite direction, get yourself inside the house. If you're out walking around, get into a neighbor's house, knock on the door. Or if you can get into a garage, shed, something like that, you're aiming to put space between you and the bear. Thing we never do when we see a bear is run. But what is your first instinct going to be when you see a bear? It's going to be to run, right? So you need to override. You need to think about that consistently so that your first instinct is to back away slowly. Now, if you're backing away, putting space between you and that bear continues to approach you, that's when you want to hold your ground. Yeah, big, loud, scary. If you have a jacket, you can put your jacket over your head. If you have rocks below, you can throw rocks at the bear. Let that bear know that you mean business. Because again, bears don't want to mess with us. If we're going to be too much trouble, even if they're just a curious bear, they don't want the extra effort. So let them know you mean business. And if it still continues after that to approach you, that's when you would deploy bear spray. Bear spray is deployed at 30 feet in front of you when there's 30 feet between you and the bear. It works great. I know a lot of you are probably terrified about bear spray. You shouldn't be. It's very strong propellant, so it's going to propel the irritating stuff away from you. And you're saying, well, what about the wind, Ashley? We don't get wind strong enough for that to deter you from using bear spray. If you have a little bit of stinging in your eyes for a while, that's better than a bear coming after you and making contact with you, right? That's the trade-off there. So the idea of a bear spray is to put a wall of capsaicin or pepper between you and that bear. Very, very effective. Ace Hardware and Merrimum carries bear spray. REI carries bear spray. And the, what is it called? The hunting store in the outlets. I'm blank. Sportsman's Warehouse in the outlets. They carry it as well. So you can just go pick it up. You can also order it online. They also have training canisters online as well. No pepper in them. So you can see how far the pepper spray goes, see how wide it is. If you want to go out in a windy day and try it and see how much will come in your eyes, you could do that as well. But that way you're not using it for the first time when you actually need it. Now, if you do encounter a bear inside of a building, you're still going to back away slowly in the opposite direction, but you're going to leave that door open behind you or a window or whatever the case may be. You do not want to lock a bear in your bathroom because now you need to remodel your bathroom. We all know how lumber prices are these days, and so don't lock a bear in a building. Leave those exits open, get yourself out to safety, and the bear 9 times out of 10 will be following you out. It'll be wanting to get out as well. If it's in your backyard, I get this all the time. Bears were here first. We should let them do whatever we want. We shouldn't bother them. No, it's a bear in your backyard. It's not safe for them to be so close to humans, just like it's not safe for us to be close to them. We set boundaries all the time in our lives. We set boundaries for our kids. We say, hey, you can't touch the stove because it's hot and you'll get hurt. We need to tell the bears, hey, you can't come in my backyard because I live here and we may bump into each other and we may get hurt, or our pets may bump into the bear and get hurt. We just set boundaries for bears. So if there's a bear coming through your backyard and if it's just moving through, that's fine. So that's what bears are supposed to do, just move through. But if there's a bear sitting in your backyard and it's just hanging out, taking a nap, yeah, that's really cute. Take a picture, but then start banging some pots and pans. You can try an air horn. You can try to get a megaphone off of Amazon. Those are pretty cheap. Try to switch it up as well so that all of your neighbors aren't using the same thing. We see that with the air horns. They get used to one thing because everybody's blasting them with the air horn, and that's all they hear all day long, and they just get used to it. So switch it up. Last thing I'm going to point out to you is your pets. Your dogs need to be on a leash at all times, not only because there's local leash laws in effect, but because if your dog runs into a bear, you have no control over your dog. And when I see people injured by bears, almost 90% of the time is because there's a dog off leash. Dog goes chasing the bear turns around, starts chasing the dog. The dog comes back to mom or dad looking for safety. Now you got a bear running at you. So that's usually what happens. Or dog and bear are fighting and you try to break up the fight to get your dog to safety. That's when I see people injured by bears, not because they're out gardening in their backyard, not because they're out, hiking on our trails. It's because they have an off-leash dog somewhere in that equation. So do take it seriously, not only for your safety, but for your dog's safety as well. They're like our babies, so we need to take care of them. So always have your dog on a leash, even if it's raining outside and it's late at night and your dog needs to take an extra, relieve itself one more time for that night. Just put it on a leash, even if it's a pain in the butt, because everybody will be safer for it. We'll go to the next one. And click it one more time. There we go. So now I'm going to turn it over to Arrington. She's going to talk briefly about the program specific to Montreat, how you guys should be operating according to your Bearwise requirements.
Well, I've got Ashley. Ashley, thank you so much. Every time you come, I learn something else. So we really appreciate your coming. Montreat is a Bearwise community, and one of the criteria for us to become a Bearwise community was to establish a neighborhood alert system, which we have done. I've worked with town council on that when they decided they wanted to pursue this program, and we have set up neighborhood zones, because we can't do blocks in Montreat. We have to do zones, areas of zones, and I've assigned each zone a captain, which I've called a bear watcher. And the responsibility of the bear watcher is to gather the emails of people in their zone, contact them, send out the educational material like the 6 Bearwise basics, the green, yellow, red alerts, what you do, what you see, what the bears do and how you react to that, the alerts, the stages of the alerts. Then if the neighbor sees a bear and it's doing one of these other things, we don't worry about the yellows, we worry about the greens and the reds. Bear is doing one of those things, being where he's not supposed to be, breaking in your car, breaking in your house. Then the bear watcher will get an email from that neighbor, and then she will send out a blanket email to everybody in the neighborhood. So everybody in that whole area knows what's going on. You may be walking through, that's fine. I've had areas that overlapped so that, for instance, Mary Jo Clark, Elder James is the bear watcher up on Nesbitt. Her area overlaps Betty Douglas's down on Alabama. They will be in contact because that bear is coming through Ellen and right straight on down through Betty Douglas's, probably across the street to yours. So that's the way it works. And so far, I have not had a serious bear encounter in Montreat. Reports, but nothing serious. So I feel like we all are much better educated, and we certainly know each other better, and we've certainly met a lot of people. So thank you so much for all of your efforts and for attending to this program, because it's important. And it is one of the criteria for becoming a Bearwise community, that alert system. So thank you, and thank you, Ashley.
Arrington, can people reach out to you to figure out who their who their bear watcher is? Okay, so yeah, Arrington can help you if you kind of need some guidance on that. You should have already heard from them, but just in case you fell through the cracks or you need a reminder, just let us know and we'll get you connected. So at this point, I want to open it up to some questions. If anyone's got some questions, yeah. Yeah, so we take all physical interactions, whether it's a bite, a scratch, whatever the case may be, on a case-by-case basis. Most of the time when we see instances where people and bears are making contact, whether it's a bite, scratch, whatever, most of the time it's defensive in nature. So the bear isn't targeting that person, the bear is reacting because most of the time their dog is chasing and the person's trying to break up the dog. So just because a bear has scratched someone or bit someone doesn't mean they're more likely to do it again. But certainly we'll take steps to educate that community. Now, if it were something that were threatening or predatory in nature, then we would take action to remove that bear. because a predatory bear would be likely to repeat that behavior because it is targeting people. So we take it on a case-by-case basis, and so far we haven't had any reports of predatory behavior. We have had some reports where bears were a bit more aggressive than they should have, given the scenario that played out, and we do react to those as well. So it just kind of depends on all the facts that we get. Yeah, so she says about dog doors. So if a bear can fit its head through a space, kind of like a cat, they can fit their head through a space, they can wiggle their whole body through there. So your doggy doors, they can get through them, even a big adult bear. Your vents on the side of your crawl space, they can pop those out and get through there as well because they can fit their head through them. So keep that in mind as well if you're looking around your property, trying to be more bear wise, trying to be proactive. We love that. But look for those sorts of things. You can remove that doggy door and have a regular door. You can cement in those vents to your crawl space so that they're more secure. There's extra steps that you can take. Yeah, they don't have collarbones, so they're not restricted in their movement. Other questions? Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, so when it comes to coyotes, most of the time it's just people seeing coyotes in their community. In terms of conflict, what we see is that coyotes eat their pets. That's usually it. We don't have any coyote attacks. We've never had those in our state. There have been some suspected ones that turned out to be dogs or turned out to be some other critter like a fox. So in terms of danger level of coyotes, they're pretty low on the totem pole for me in terms of things you need to be worried about if you're not a cat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't care what critter it is, don't feed it. Okay. That's blanket statement. But no, I haven't had anything concerning. Again, it's mostly with cats where we see the issues occur. Yeah. Yeah, we can run through the life cycle really quick. Yeah. So let's start at birth. So bears are going to give birth sometime in January, maybe into early February, but mostly January. So that's when all the cubs are born. They are going to stay in the den until about April. I usually say about Easter is when they start leaving the den. And they'll leave with mom. Now, before then, mom might come in and out of the den several times just to see if the cubs are strong enough to follow her. She'll kind of test them, so to speak. And she'll leave them on their own for a little while in the den when it gets warm. But for the most part, by April, most of the bears have left their dens at that point. Now, once they leave the den, they're up and running. They're not coming back to the den. They are full-on free-ranging bears at that point. And they will wean at about 6 to 8 months of age. So that would be, let's see, if we start in January, that ends up being around June or so. And they'll be about 20 pounds at that size, about a beagle size. Beyond that, they will continue to stay with their mom. They will overwinter in den with their mom again that following winter. And they'll wake up in January and leave the den with her in in April again. And then about breeding season, which breeding season is early July, maybe late June, you'll see that they'll separate. The family will separate before the mom comes into heat again because she wants them gone so she can go on dates. So around late spring, early summer is when we start to see a lot of the younger bears a lot of calls about younger bears doing this, that, and the other thing around town, just because they're trying to establish their own home range territory, figure life out in general. Between males and female cubs, you'll see that females tend to be allowed to stick around closer to mom's home range or territory. She might give them pieces of it and allow them to take it over. Males, however, will be cast out farther because you don't want those genetics close by. You want to kind of disperse. It's kind of an evolutionary trait. So you'll see them disperse a bit more, and those young males tend to be the ones that get calls about in late summer into the fall as they're trying to figure out life, figure out how they fit into the ecosystem. Exactly. They can come back to the same den. Some moms they have like a 3-tree rotation. We have one right downtown off of like exit 4C area. She dens in that tree right next to the interstate. I mean, feet from the interstate most years. And then if she's not in that one, she's across the other side of the interstate, right on the other side in a tree. So that's just their MO. But some of them will get a new den each time. It just kind of depends on the bear. Yeah. So the literature will say that bears should start breeding around 4 to 5 years of age, maybe even 3 years of age. But our Asheville bears are different. There's so many calories on the landscape that we're finding that Asheville bears breed earlier in life. So we have bears that have had their first litter right after they separated from mom, so about 1.5 to 2 years old, which again is a reflection on what we provide as humans on the landscape, because they can breed earlier because they have enough calories to do so. But it should be a bit later than that, several years later, that they should be coming into their first breeding cycle. Yeah, they're having more cubs per litter. The average should be 2 to 3. In Asheville, it's 3 to 4. And even we've had reports of 5 to 6 litters or cubs per litter. And that's just because they're well fed. They're able to do so. Ooh, you're fine. Yeah, I mean, mostly we're finding it's calorie driven. Phase 2 of the urban bear study in Asheville city limits is looking at what some of those driving factors could be. We're finding it's just the number of calories on the landscape. So Asheville, in biology terms, we call Asheville a source for the population. So think of it like a spring. Bears are coming out of Asheville, they're spreading out through Asheville, and then eventually they trickle out into the surrounding areas. You would think an urban place like Asheville with all the roads and people, et cetera, would be a sink where bears come into the town and they die. And so it kind of acts like a drain. But we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing that it is a source population because the local landscape can support them. Yes, sir. So their preferred den is going to be old growth trees that have died or broken off and they're hollow in the center. And we call those tree dens. So that's their preferred den. However, those are few and far between nowadays, especially as development continues and so on and so forth. But so you will see them, they might use a coyote or a foxhole and expand that out and make a den for themselves. They may have a tree that's really skinny, about yay big, and it broke over in half, and they decide, perfect, I'm gonna get underneath that tree. And you can see them, but they think that's just the perfect spot. They'll gather up some leaves, and that's where they'll have their cubs. But then you also have the bears that give birth underneath a crawl space. I had at least 3 houses in Asheville where bears gave birth under their crawl space or deck this year. And then they stayed there, they raised their cubs, and then eventually they left. So it can happen in close proximity to humans too. This will be our last one. Yeah, so we're seeing that play out with all the apartment complexes, especially those tend to be on big tracts of land. The bears stay. I mean, they may relocate while construction happens, but once those developments, whether it's a shopping center or apartment complex, whatever, is built and up and running, they're still following that same path that they always have for generations through that apartment complex. So I always say that bears have already adapted to live alongside us. We're just now starting to adapt ourselves to live alongside them. Yeah, I'll say our Buncombe County Bears, they do leave Asheville. They will, but they usually come right back. So they kind of do these loops out of town and they end up right back. So they don't need to leave because everything they have is right here, you know? Within 4 square miles, that's the average home range of a female bear in Asheville is 4 square miles. She has everything that she needs. So yeah, it's something that we're considering, especially with roadways, finding better alternatives for them to cross roadways by expanding culverts that are already existing. And when it's time to replace those, putting in something that's more bear friendly. So we're exploring some solutions, but for the most part, bears are here. They're gonna stay here no matter how we treat our landscape. Yes. All right, I think we're out of time, but I'll hang around a little bit if y'all want to come up and ask questions. I don't mind at all. But thank you for having me, and do reach out to our resources if you need it.